Call the Missouri Western State University Board of Governors meeting to order. And the first item of business is to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the August 17th, 2023 board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion carried. Do I have a motion to ratify the October 17th, 2023 phone poll, which was the Leverton Residence Hall elevator improvements?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Where are we on the timeline of that? Anybody know? For the elevator repair?
I think. Ron, can you give it for the elevator repair? We're still waiting for the jack.
Okay,
Do this.
understood. Because we kind of knew that going in.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay.
I know.
Motion carried. We'll now hear from the Personnel, Finance and Operations Committee report. Interim Ron Owinger and Al Landis.
Okay.
Governor Landis, I should say.
Well, thank you. The Missouri Western Personnel and Finance Committee met earlier today, and I will turn the time over to Interim Vice President Ron Olinger. Ron, you're up.
All right.
Thank you, Governor Landis. And I want to thank, the Board of Governors and for the time that I've spent here. It's been an enjoyable time. I'm going to also enjoy getting back to retirement. And so hopefully that'll happen real soon. So good afternoon. I'd like to give you a financial update on the university for the first quarter of our fiscal year. The detailed financial statements are in your board book. So I'm pleased to report that tuition and fees are up at 50.5% of our revised budget, and we're on target to meet our plan for the year. We made an adjustment to the budget for tuition to decrease it by $1,268,344. And this was due to change in how early college academy revenues and scholarships are now being handled for fiscal year 24. So in the past, we charged full tuition and showed the reduced rate by reflecting it in scholarships. For the current year, after we had done the budget, we were charging only the reduced rate of $95 per credit hour for early college academy students. Our state grants and contracts have been revised upward by $5.2 million to reflect the funding that we'll be bringing in this year for the CTAC project. And in the auxiliary area, athletics revenue is at 40.2%, which is slightly higher than what we would normally figure, about a fourth of the year, reflecting the revenue from Chiefs Camp that we had this summer. Overall operating revenues are at 41.5% of our revised budget for the quarter. With regard to operating expenses, they're slightly unfavorable at 31.5% for the first quarter of the fiscal year. This is primarily due to annual memberships, property insurance, and software and maintenance contracts that are paid up front for the year. So we front load a lot of those contracts. Salaries and compensation and fringe benefits are below plan due to open positions. We expect to have some significant savings in these areas for the fiscal year, as we weren't able to hire all the faculty that we had open positions for, and some of our staff positions. Supplies and services and insurance are tracking over plan due to upfront contractual obligations at the beginning of the year, as we talked about. Also, our revised budget reflects an increase in property insurance premiums of $305,000 over our original budget. Travel and utilities are slightly below plan for the first quarter, and scholarships are sitting at 48.5%, which reflects the lower credit hours that we've had. In our non-operating revenues, the state appropriations are right at 25% where they should be. We've also revised our state appropriations capital budget to include funding of $3 million for Chiefs Camp improvements. These improvements include new turf for the Griffin Sports Indoor Complex and renovations to the Baccalaureate Residence Hall. Capital expense adjustments reflect the state grant for CTAC project and Chiefs Camp improvements. We've also added the cost of our debt service principal to the budget to reflect this outflow of cash. This was done after our budget was prepared. The amount is $2.9 million. So for the first quarter of our fiscal year, we're showing a positive bottom line of $6 million. And this revised budget will use 1.4 million of our prior year designated reserve funds. Of this 1.4 million dollars, 79,000 was anticipated and designated from the prior year. The remaining 1.3 million was a result of unbudgeted debt service principal and our overage on property insurance premiums. So our cash position at the end of September is $10.6 million. So this is about $3 million less than what it was a year ago at this time. That difference is primarily due to HERF funds provided to the university back in 2021, 2022, and also reflects the use of our reserves to pay our debt service principal last year. Are there any questions or comments regarding the financials?
Ron, how much longer do we have on the bond payment that you've added the principal on it?
You know, I don't know. I think it's around, I think those were 25-year bonds. And so, if you figure the last construction we did was on Bartabedian Hall, which was 5 years ago. So we probably have at least 20 years. So we're sitting at about, a little under $37 million in total principal yet to be paid. So. Normally, this is the time of year where we'd be presenting our financial audit to you. Due to some unforeseen circumstances this year, we had actually a new government accounting standards bulletin came out, GASB 96. I'm not going to try and explain it to you, but it has to do with capitalizing our software program, maintenance contracts and program contracts. The financial audit will now be completed on November 15th. And so I'm told Betsy will be getting on your calendars to set up a time after that for the board to review the audit, and we'll meet with the auditors at that time. Other questions, comments? So I'd entertain a motion to approve the financial statements.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, you're also being asked to approve 3 bids. The first is for the CTAC fiber pathway. We are bringing our fiber over from the main campus to West Campus for internet connectivity to the CTAC building. The bid from RS Electric was the low bidder in the amount of $157,969. A little bit less. The funding for this is in the amount we have raised to build the CTAC building. So we have the funds for that. The next 2 bids are for renovations to Vaslakos Residence Hall. The funding for these renovations is coming from the state appropriations for Chiefs Camp improvements. And so we have funding for that also. The first bid is for carpet replacement in the amount of $368,790. And Myers Floor was the low bidder. The second bid is for painting in the amount of $116,875. Impact Painting LLC was the low bidder in that case. Are there any questions regarding those bids?
We have a recommendation coming from the committee to approve the 3 bid proposals. Do I have a motion to approve the FB 24-045 CTAC building fiber pathway as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion passed. Do I have a motion to approve the FB 24-041 Residence Hall carpet as presented? So moved. Any discussion? Did I get a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. The motion passed. Do I have a motion to approve the FB 24-046 Residence Hall paint as presented?
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Olinger, and we appreciate you stepping in the breach here and helping us out. And good luck in your back to retirement. We'll now hear from the division reports, the vice presidents and other cabinet members.
All over.
Finance and Administration, Ron Olinger, and we just heard from him. Next up is Academic Affairs, Dr. Laura Reynolds.
Good afternoon, governors. Glad to be here. Thanks so much for your time and the opportunity to speak with you on behalf of Academic Affairs and the faculty and staff and students who are a part of our team. So a few updates that are separate from or in addition to what you have in your board booklet. We do have 11 searches in process right now for instructional staff or faculty to join us here. They are well underway. I thank the deans and I thank the faculty who are taking part in those. Those are heavy lifts where we are at the middle point of our strategic hiring process, which is all data informed, enrollment informed. So and data driven, there's been a lot of work that's gone into just the granting of these requests. And now they're following the strategic hiring process, including training that involves bias training, the use of instruments in all our searches. So it's rigorous and it is a process and I appreciate them. We're looking forward to having a few folks on campus in the next week, hopefully for some of our colleges. And so that's very exciting and will be exciting for our students. Additionally, other strategic planning is still underway. So what we have is in each college, strategic planning is moving in a process that is driven by that college's needs and that college's positionality and leadership, new leadership. So for example, the College of with the College of Business and Professional Studies with a new dean and leadership there that is moving at a pace with new leadership. We are really pleased with the work of the faculty thus far. We've done financial analysis and enrollment analysis with each division and department. And so they are using that information to not only inform current activities, but also their future visioning of their departments and colleges and what program curation may look like. The faculty and the colleges are deep into that curation right now of the curriculum insofar as we are removing a great deal of coursework that is no longer being taught here at the university. And so that makes room for new things that are driven by workforce need and regional need and state need. So we're very pleased with that work. It is a heavy lift as well. The other thing I wanted to mention to you that sort of fills out what you have in your report is that we're focused right now on the support of our students in the middle of the semester. So the freshmen began enrolling yesterday. So we had advisement at the beginning of the month. So we're at the tail end of the first week of registration. So we do not have registration numbers yet for the spring semester. But what I can tell you is that we're spending a great deal of time analyzing the work and the activities that are going on with those students in relation to their staying in their classes, their current performance in their classes in relationship to their midterm grades, as well as the withdrawal or the absence of those students from courses, which has become a real trend in higher ed now that we're quite concerned about. What I'm very pleased about is the work that we're doing around this and supporting the students and the progress that we're seeing and the advances that we're seeing. We're seeing students that are taking advantage of the Center for Academic Support in a more vigorous way. So the last 2 or 3 times I've stopped in there, it has been packed, and I am pleased with that. I am pleased, frustrated in a good way, in the fact that we can't keep up with the tutoring requests yet, and we're having to innovate around that. But that means they're asking for help, which I think is excellent. We're doing things through academic affairs and with our faculty who are piloting some efforts like having embedded tutors in some of the courses and having them sit and ride right along with the class and then offering that additional support as a peer And I think that that offers a special kind of support for some students and also gives some of our exceptional students the opportunity to take part in that process. So that's really showing an incredible amount of innovation on the part of the faculty and support from all of the staff. The other thing I wanted to mention is that the student support is going to show us what our faculty and staff need next semester to support these students in a more intensive way. So right now we know that our freshman to freshman retention is the one we're working on, but I'm actually really pleased to tell you that those rates are close to or right on the national and regional average. So we're going to strive here at the university because that's what we do. We want to support our students. What we're going to do is we're going to look at each student that has left a class or a course, and we're going to group them and then offer individualized supports for those characteristics in those classes of students. So I'm pleased with the work of the first team. I'm pleased with the new University 101 structure that we have. And I want to reinforce and let you all know that the kind of analysis that we're doing on our students' success and progress right now is difficult and time consuming, but will be incredibly productive and incredibly meaningful for not only our faculty to be fully resourced, but also for our students to be successful and complete this university with the degree that we know that they need. So I'm glad to answer any specific questions about any of those initiatives.
You have a schedule in here of an update with regard to applied learning. And
Yes.
I just really appreciated that chart just to have a feel for what's going on. It just
You're welcome. And the Griffin Office of Applied Learning now in academic affairs with Dr. Ducey, and we've got some new support in that office, which is excellent. But I will tell you that the innovation going on there is even in the next 2 or 3 months, you're going to see a great deal of additional data that's available to you because we're working with the Office of the Registrar and with all of the faculty in academic affairs to now code our classes to make sure that they're listed as applied learning and to try and really get down and drive down to the data and be able to express to our students and the families that come here all of the opportunities that are available in that. So you'll see even more data coming soon.
Any other questions? Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you for your time.
Now we'll hear from the University Advancement and the Missouri Western State University Foundation from Mr. Mark Aschenbaugh.
Thank you, governors. You've got my report, so I'm just going to add a few additional items and then give you 1 or 2 highlights. First, an overview. Total cash gifts received for this fiscal year through the end of September are down about 5% compared to this time last year. However, some very large cash receipts came in October, and that coupled with our foreknowledge that there are going to be about $1 million in pledge payments made between December and March tell us that we will be back on track in terms of cash receipts and probably well ahead of where we would normally have been in January of next year. Even more excitingly, gift pledges booked through September are up 40% year over year. It's extremely important to note that historically, the foundation maintains an extremely low pledge write-off rate. So when we book pledges here at Missouri Western, they come in. So we can count on that large bolus of pledges moving forward. So from an overview perspective, things are proceeding very well. I've listed in your report a number of gifts that we received in the past 3 months. I won't go through all those here, of course, but I think what I'd like to call your attention to is you'll see that we've not only continued to move the needle on the CTAC project funding with a $200,000 scholarship for engineering technology students and another $175,000 for the CTAC project itself. That was attracted by adding 6 additional industrial partners and another gift from a foundation. But you'll also see gifts there for the School of Business, for respiratory therapy, for general scholarships and athletics. As you look ahead, I've also cited some of the projects we're working on, and those two cover a spectrum. We're meeting with a number of other potential CTAC supporters, but we have gifts in the works for music, Potter Hall renovation, the social work department, and another general scholarship endowment that should be fairly substantial. Mid six figures, I would expect. And we've recently moved forward an opportunity to possibly pursue a 7-figure gift for the CTAC. So those are some of the things we have in the works. And then I'd just like to close with a few items to look ahead to in 2024. We anticipate it's probable that we will be able to conduct a CTAC hard hat tour sometime in early 2024. The University Council will gather again in 2024. The Arts Society will hold an open house to welcome people from around our town, from across our campus, to enjoy what our students are doing in the arts programs here at Missouri Western. And we will be reheating a traditional event that had lapsed for a while, the Engineering, Technology, and Industry Gathering, that celebrates partnerships with industry in our community and helps create internship opportunities in the bargain. I'm happy to take any questions, but otherwise that's my report.
Any questions? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Next up is Enrollment Management and Marketing and Communications, Miss Becky Dunn.
Right. Good afternoon. So I will share a few highlights with you. Awesome. All right. Very good. So this is an update, just focusing on a few things. So the first would be some statistics about our class of freedom. So our incoming class this year, named after one of our values, freedom. So looking at this data is always interesting to see where our students come from and a little demographic information about them. I'll point out the top 5 counties are Buchanan, Jackson, Andrew, Clay, and St. Louis. You can see the age range there. 95% of our freshmen are between 18 and 24, and 79% of our transfer students are between 18 and 24. According to our fall 23 fact sheet, the average age of our student is 21. What's really significant is the number of first-generation students, and this is self-reported, but it is significant for us to really recognize how many students are coming here without having that family support that have experienced a university or college experience. So 299 self-reported, and that's up from 177 who self-reported last year. So a big jump for sure. You'll notice that 377 plan to live on campus. And again, this is early on, and so those plans may not have come through. We had 92% of our students who attended Griffin orientation who did follow through and enroll. So we feel really positive about that yield, and knowing that if we can get a student to Griffin orientation in the summer, then they're more likely to enroll and to stay here. So that's a little snapshot of the class of freedom. The next snapshot I would give you would be some data from Griffin Edge. So this is our 4-day extended orientation program that we offer in August, right before classes begin. And we had 343 students complete our survey to give us some feedback about their experience. And these 3 questions really get to the root of what we're trying to accomplish with Griffin Edge. We want our students to feel prepared to succeed here. We want them to really connect with Missouri Western and feel that they belong here. And we want them to look ahead to that first semester and feel confident that they have the resources and the support that they need. So these 3 statistics are showing you students who selected agree, somewhat agree, and strongly agree. So a strong showing that Griffin Edge is accomplishing our goal, that it is helping those students feel like they're ready to be a student here. We hosted our fall Griffin Experience event on October 21st. So this is an open house showcase experience for students to learn about Missouri Western. We're very pleased that we increased attendance. We had 88 students plus their guests attend, which is a big increase over 33 students last year. We changed up the experience a little bit, and we had students divided by the college with their intended major. And that allowed for the deans and faculty and students in those programs to speak directly to the students and really give them some insights about what it's like to be a student in that program area. We are busily recruiting for next fall. So I have here some information about freshman admits by Missouri territory for the fall of 2024. Overall, our admits are up 1% compared to this time last year. Our total applications right now are flat with where we were last year. You can see by those different territories, Buchanan County is the only one that is down, and it's down 22% compared to last year. The rest of those are all up slightly or flat. And so we're excited to be able to make some progress in that area and continuing to recruit students. We also have a full recruitment staff this fall, which we did not have last year. So we have 5 recruiters who are out on the road, and we're making good progress by getting the word out about Missouri Western. A preview of what's coming up, a few things that we'll be coordinating. Our international fair is November 15th. So this is open to the public. This is an opportunity for our international students to showcase their cultures, an opportunity for guests to experience that and also enjoy some wonderful cuisine. Griffin orientation is coming up for spring starts on January 9th. And then we'll have our walk-in registration on January 11th. And so we'll be working with new freshmen and new transfer students to come to Griffin orientation. And then we'll catch everyone else on the 11th and get them ready to start the spring semester. And that concludes my report. Any questions?
I have one question. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Go ahead, Al.
Back to Buchanan County, that drop back from there, did that catch you by surprise? Or kind of caught me? That's a question, I guess.
Yeah, you know, I know that we've talked before about the decrease in the number of students who are graduating out of the St. Joseph Public School system. And so keeping that in mind, you know, we had a regional college fair. We hosted a regional college fair on campus, and there were several other colleges and several high schools that brought groups in. And we had Central High School that brought a very small number of students versus Lafayette that brought all their seniors. So some of it is, I think, just the decisions that students are making, the timing that they're making those decisions, and thinking about that.
My question is on the first slide. I think it was 299 first generation self-reported. What percent of that class would that be? Approximately?
It was 48%.
Okay, so about half.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really significant.
That's why Laura, wherever she went, has to work so hard. There you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that we should be proud of that. And I think probably we could communicate that more in the community, because I mean, that's a huge responsibility that's making the world a better place. And I don't think people know that.
Sure. Good point.
I just want to say how much I enjoyed that snapshot, because I'm not sure I've seen anything like that
Mm-hmm.
today, and how much it's real quick and very helpful.
Good. Good. I'm glad.
Thank you.
You bet.
Actually, still on that Buchanan County number, is there something different at Central that they're doing, or a relationship with counselors, or is that historically they, you know, brought more students than were just enrolled here, or it even applied here, but still almost kind of an undecided group that would come out, and just the size of the school. Obviously, we understand the trends and whatnot, but that's, you didn't have, just compared to 20 last year, it's just,
Yeah.
you know, I just would like to know that that's been explored more. We've had some, you know, glitches in the past where maybe relationships weren't what they should be, and
Sure.
we know the trends, but I mean, that's our largest school in our backyard, and we need to do everything we can there to let those students and probably just as important, counselors there know what, or remind them what a fantastic product that we have in their backyard.
Yeah. And I don't really have a direct answer to your question, but I can tell you with our new Assistant Vice President of Enrollment Management, that he's building relationships. We've had high school counselors on campus, that each of our recruiters are assigned one of the high schools in Buchanan County, and that's their area that they work with in addition to their other territory. And so it is an intentional focus, and it is early. It's October. While we do get a lot of applications in the fall, we almost get just as many in January and February. So we're flat compared to where we were this time last year, which is good, I suppose. But hopefully we'll see that number start to creep up. I can tell you, and I apologize, I don't have the school in mind, but we had a bus tour from a school that said 50 students will be coming and 5 came. So students changed their minds. A lot of things happen. I do know for that school, it was senior skip day. So maybe the counselor should have picked a different day to bring students, but those 5 got a great tour.
Any other questions?
How far do recruiters go to recruit students around even Missouri or other states,
Yeah, absolutely.
or even digital recruiting as well?
Yeah.
Marketing?
So we have a recruiter who covers Iowa and Nebraska. And that's her sole territory. We have a recruiter who covers Southeast, really Southern Missouri and then Southern Kansas, a recruiter in Northern Missouri and Northern Kansas, a recruiter in Mid Missouri, and then a recruiter who has the Kansas City proper areas. And then, of course, we often will go to Illinois and Arkansas. We've been to some events in Oklahoma as well.
I only ask, I've spoken with students who said they know, of course, that's part of their responsibility, perhaps as well, to tout the college, but they've said if more people around my area knew about it, they would utilize it, they would come. So I just didn't know what that looked like.
Sure.
Marketing. Great.
One thing that I mentioned in the board report, we're developing a new virtual tour, and this is going to make a really big impact. We don't offer anything like that now. And so when we have that possibility for students to explore our campus without physically stepping foot on campus, that's going to significantly help those students who maybe have a transportation issue or are located really far away.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's kind of a follow-up to that. Obviously, we welcome students from everywhere, but with limited resources, we can't be at every high school in the state, can't be at every, and you mentioned a lot of out of states. What's the criteria that we determine of what schools we're going to target or what resources we're going to use for them?
Sure. So, we're looking at past data, so numbers that we might have from those schools to help us determine if that's an area that we typically get a lot of applicants or students who enroll from. And we also just think about geographically and then the logistics, right? Like if there's a strong school that we know we want to hit and we're going to be near another school, let's go ahead and visit that school as well and maximize our time and be efficient. But if it's a long trip to a school that hasn't really yielded a lot of students, then we'll pivot and we'll focus on an area where we feel like we have more opportunity. And I would say with Dr. Foote being new, that he's, working through all of the data that's available and trying to develop a strategy and guide what we're doing. But it takes some time to really get a handle on those trends and make some strategic decisions.
Besides just what our yield rate would be from a school, do we look at the success rate of schools that we will continue to recruit, of graduation and things like that? Is that a factor or is it just a yield rate?
I think at this point, they've started with the yield rate, but I think getting to the bigger picture of how students progress would be wise.
Any other questions? Thank you, Becky.
All right, thank you.
Up next is Student Affairs by Mr. Chris Dunn.
Good afternoon, governors. I continue to be grateful that you all serve on the board and serve our community the way that you do. I have a few remarks that are outside of the written remarks in the board book. And the first thing I was going to do is introduce Dr. Goltra, who was warming this chair and as soon as you said my name, he exited the room. But Our new dean of students is here this afternoon. You can't miss him because he's 6'7". And he was sitting at the end of the row here, like I said. So welcome him if you have an opportunity this afternoon. He is coming to us from Rogers State University. The last time the board met, he had been here a day. And so he's got a couple of months of experience now, and he is leaving his fingerprints all over student affairs in a number of different ways. One of the things that I appreciate about him is he has done some consulting for student affairs on other campuses, and he is familiar with best practices throughout the US. And so we should see some of his expertise come into play here over the next months and many years, I hope. I was going to mention that he's been here during the week and in Oklahoma with his family on the weekends, and they're very close to being here living in St. Joseph. So I'm excited for him to have his family join him here as they've purchased a house and try to make some renovations. So with an entirely new team of SGA leadership, we have the president and vice president of SGA with us this afternoon. This year's homecoming events were well organized and had better attendance than last year. And with recent changes, we were able to record accurate attendance at some of these events, and we are currently assessing improvements for next year. The organization and direction of homecoming week usually rests in the hands of the dean of students. But with me serving as an interim dean, I asked Dr. Josh Clary, who is our director for Center for Student Involvement, to handle Family Day and homecoming for the university this year. And I just want to acknowledge that he's not here. He's working, which is what I want him to be doing. But I just want to publicly thank him for stepping up to help with homecoming, because that's a major undertaking. And of course, the rest of the Student Affairs Division plugged holes all along the way as well. So I appreciate them. Over the summer, we lost a counselor in our counseling center. He moved on, and so we have recently filled that position, and just wanted to make you aware of that. In our counseling center, we have 3 full-time counselors, and then we receive mostly full-time help from a counselor that is assigned to us from Family Guidance. And so when we're fully staffed, we're in the best position to meet students' needs as they make appointments in the counseling center. Just wanted to acknowledge that Jackie McGuire is coming to us from Kansas City, and she started just a few weeks ago, and she's doing a fantastic job already. In addition to Jackie coming on campus, the counseling center this semester has started a program where they're surveying their clients post-visit. So after they leave the center, they're given a brief survey, because we're trying to make sure we're meeting their counseling needs. And if they need more services, we try to connect them with more services. But it is a tiny little thing that I think is going to improve customer service in what I think is already a very well-run counseling center. But if we can minimize the number of visits, if we can help connect them to resources, we're serving the students better, and that is their aim. Relating to the campus cupboard, I've mentioned in my last board report that we don't have the typical amount of resources that we have for the campus cupboard this year. One of those factors is because of less funding. One of those factors is because Second Harvest is also has less resources. And so I have started to move beyond the campus. Chris Curtin, that runs the campus cupboard for us, recently had the Eastside Rotary Club here on campus, and they provided a small donation to us recently. And they're looking for ways to help resource us with food donations. Last week, I made a small presentation at Wyatt Park Baptist Church to one of their committees, and they committed to a $900 donation that will help us get through this fall. And so we're excited about that.
Can I ask a quick question? How
Yes,
much
ma'am.
if you had all the money you needed, how much would it be semester, or however you look at it? That's not.
I'm just gonna throw a dollar amount out there, and it would be a very rough estimate.
Yep.
But we would probably need $5,500 or $6,000 a semester, and that might not be enough, but that's just a guess.
And how much
Okay.
are you short?
How
Or
Well,
do you know that?
in terms of a dollar figure, I have no idea, because last year we received quite a bit from Second Harvest,
Okay.
and
They gave you food, not
they gave
money.
us food. Yes. Yes, and then we occasionally get financial donations. And until this year, our biggest supporter of the campus covered were the team at SGA. And last year they provided somewhere between $300 and $400 a week when we were in class. So
Yeah, maybe you want to talk a little bit too about the the food drives that we have too.
oh, thank you, Dr.
So
Kennedy.
that's what we do.
Great suggestion. Blake, what are we calling the food drive with faculty this year?
That, I don't know that one. I know the one that we're doing overall reaching other universities.
Yeah. I'll explain that if you tell me what the name of that is.
That's food fight.
Okay, so I want you all to be very proud of Blake and Israel because this summer they had this idea that for a couple of years, we've been in competition with Northwest Missouri State to see who could raise the most pounds of food for their food pantry. And last year we won resoundingly, correct? Yeah. And so Blake and Israel decided that they wanted to expand the number of campuses participating. So thank you for that suggestion. And they are in the process of, they have invited other schools and they have received good word from 3 other schools or 4.
3 others.
Yeah. So they've invited all the public universities in Missouri to participate, and some are slower than others, and some SGAs are better than others. But the real point is that they're trying to do more because it's important to them. It's important to our SGA, and I'm glad that they're leading the effort. So they're in the process of working with these other schools now, where students and faculty and anybody else for that matter that wants to beat another school handily, like we did last year. If you want to participate in that, if you want to help, I would talk to Blake before you leave today. But we are trying to ramp up our efforts. Students are trying to ramp up efforts to do their part to help provide donations to the campus covered.
You have to qualify to go in there, or you can just go.
I'm sorry, Governor
You
Norton.
have to qualify.
No,
to
ma'am.
go in the Cupboard, if you're hungry, you go.
No, you come in and say, I have a need, and somebody escorts you there. There are some requirements because we are a participant with Second Harvest. We have to measure all of our food, keep track of it, and then report it to Second Harvest, who then reports it to the USDA because they track all of those things. So that is all that I have for student affairs. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Do you go through Second Harvest in this process that you're talking about?
We have an agreement with Second Harvest. And I've been over there to tour, and I've also been over there to stock food. And some of that ultimately ends up here.
Okay.
Yeah. If there are no other questions, I'm going to go hydrate. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Up next is a report on athletics by Mr. Andy Carter. And before he begins, I'd like to congratulate him and his family. Yesterday, he received, I shouldn't say received, their 12th grandchild.
There you
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's a whole different level of experience. Yeah. So anyway, thank you, governors. Glad to be here with you today. I've got a couple of updates to the report and then a couple of additional things. Number one, since we reported, we've actually had some more victories on the fields, courts, and fairways. And the only thing I'll say about that is that last year from football, soccer, and volleyball, we won a grand total of 21 contests, 16 of them in the conference. And as of today, we are at 27 overall and 17 in the conference. And so everything's trending in the right direction, including a victory on Tuesday night when our women volleyball went up to that school up there and got their first win there since 2017. So we're seeing a lot of breakthroughs. I'm really proud of the work that our students and our coaching staffs have put in to improve the production on the fields and courts and fairways. So very excited about that. Our football team received the way they do the regional rankings. The first regional ranking came out this past week, and on Monday, and they do them alphabetical. So we don't know where we fit yet, but the goal is that you really want to be in that first ranking of the top 10 because it kind of gives you a barometer on where you are. And so we were in that top 10, and hopefully this next week we'll show up well in those rankings after a win this weekend. As you've seen, basketball season has really started already. We've had 2 exhibitions. And what I would say about that is that the new setup in Looney in the field house with moving the team benches, and then also adding in with our great partner Hilliard, the Hilliard Courtside Club, those have been well received and really cool to see people sit down there and enjoy those kind of close to the action in seats. And so we're excited about that. We've got some really big weekends to close our fall sports. Next 2 or 3 weeks will tell the tale of conference finishes, conference seedings, postseason play. And so keep those coaches and those players encouraged as you see them, because it's a fight. This conference is not for the faint of heart, and every week is a challenge. And I've been really impressed with the level of coaching that our young people are receiving across the board. And it's really a good thing to see. And then the last thing that I would say is that I'm really excited to share with you a partnership sponsorship that we have with Biozyme and Lisa and what they're doing on behalf of the athletic department to support our nutrition center. We've been talking about this for several months, and we're kind of to that point. A lot of the functionality of those things has kind of been happening hit or miss here and there. And with this gift and this agreement, this will allow us to kind of centralize and intentionalize not just providing the appropriate amount of protein and food and nutrition, but also education to our young people. And so I couldn't be more excited than to see what you're going to be able to see as this rolls out over the next few weeks. And it really will set the table for, no pun intended, set the table. It really sets the table for our future growth as we start to continue to develop the student athletes that choose to be Griffins. So with that, I would be glad to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
We'll now hear from our student governor, Mr. Garrett Jackson.
Thank you. Moving on, now that there are students in session and on campus, I've enjoyed my opportunity to speak with students, and that's what I would like to say my reports are going to be from now on, is lots more student activity and what students have to say, as is intended to be my role here. So just generally things on campus, it was very encouraging to see high student involvement, both with homecoming, just different events around campus, football games. Very good to see. That's what you want to see for a university with facilities. You want to see them used by the students, by the people who are here to be educated. The blood drive was excellent to see, both fulfilling a community need and seeing students willing to serve and willing to be active. So that was excellent, and that should be praised. RSOs have been doing well and working with SGA. SGA has been excellent to hear their stories and to see their progress being made. I would say in my own speaking with students are happy to be here. They're happy to be using campus. They're, again, from what I said in my earlier comments, there are students who hadn't heard about the university, and once they heard about it and heard what it could do, and then they came here and said, wow, this is a great place to be. I've made excellent friends here. There are excellent clubs and communities to be a part of. I've made very good friends. It's not expensive. It's an inexpensive university to go to, and compared to other universities, they've transferred here from other places and have been praising that aspect of transferring from another university and seeing their professors be willing to help them, work with them on their studies. Students have utilized the academic support center, and that's been, again, excellent to hear. It's been packed, and I've spoken to the students who've used it, and that's been good to hear. So those are all things that should be supported and praised and kept working with, because those are things that what make this university what this university is and what it should continue to be. So I just think those are things that should be continued to be pushed, continue to be used. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. We'll now hear from our president, President Kennedy.
Well, thank you, Chair Obersol and Vice Chair Norton and governors. It's my pleasure to be with you all this afternoon, and I would like to begin by formally welcoming our new Vice President for Finance and Administration, Mr. Daniel Holt. His first day was on the 25th of this week, and we're very happy to welcome Daniel to be part of the leadership and look forward to working with him. So I think we might want to say welcome to the Griffin family, as we say. And of course, I personally would like to thank Ron for his efforts as our interim vice president in finance and administration. He provided very good guidance to us as we conducted our search. And I know, Ron, we said 6 months at the beginning, and I know it's been 7. So I appreciate your willingness to hang in there with us. And I personally have enjoyed working with Ron quite a bit and appreciated his expertise. So as governors have heard, there is much positive energy on our campus and things going on this semester. And I just want to give a couple little shout outs that already haven't been mentioned, but just quickly, Governor Woolman, you mentioned about the applied learning chart that was in academic affairs. And I think it's wonderful. We've had 73 students participate in some type of applied learning experience, but that also our faculty reported having engaged in 32 scholarly activities and have achieved 42 professional accomplishments. I think that's pretty outstanding. I also want to give a somewhat belated congrats to our student governor, Garrett Jackson, who received both local Associated General Contractors in Missouri and the National AGC Student Scholarship. So congratulations to your efforts on that. We've heard from Chief Communications Officer Becky Dunn about the students that we've had on campus and those, and we've heard how our sports team have been doing very well. And I just love the fact that our football record is much better than that. What did you call them? That school up north's record? So
We should have beat them, almost beat them.
well, yes. So let me offer just a few extra items for governors and for our guests in attendance. Just 5 key points I'd like to share with you. First of all, I'd like to tell you about a university communications plan. I've asked Chief Communications Officer Becky Dunn to create a regular cycle of university level communications coming from the president's office to provide more information and to sponsor more connectivity amongst our campus community. So there will be regular emails to students, things like reminding them about registration or have a safe fall break. We'll have communications to faculty and staff, sharing news and information, providing updates, but also to welcome our new employees. One of the things that I plan to do is to host drop-in meet and greets and invite new employees to stop by to have some cookies and punch and say hello to the president and meet our staff. And this will be in addition to the family news items that we continue to send out. I should say Betsy continues to send out. So I'm excited about that. It's a good addition to our overall campus communication strategy. Another piece I'd like to bring to the governor's attention has to do with enrollment predictions and budget development. As we are nearing budget development season, and have been through 2 somewhat normal, post-COVID recruitment cycles, I've been pulling together a working group, which is academic affairs, institutional research, enrollment management, finance and administration, and myself, to begin to model where we think next year's enrollment will be. And this includes our continuing enrollment, which is the retention and persistent pieces the provost has been talking about, as well as dual credit. But it also includes expectations for new enrollment, new freshmen, new transfers, returning, which we think of as stop out students who went here one time but stopped out for a while. And the goal is to analyze data from the past 3 years and model where we think fall 24 enrollment will be. Why just the past 3 years? Well, because if you recall, 2020, not only was it the COVID highlight, but it was also the year where we were in a new series of programs. We had undergone program elimination. So we want to do an apples to apples comparison. And I think that is important because it's budget implications obviously built on enrollment in terms of revenue, our tuition, our fees, our housing and other auxiliaries, but also the expenses. And it will allow us to build a cleaner path for next fiscal year's direction. So I'm excited to get that underway. This is work that I've done at my previous institution, and I think we're now poised to begin that. Another key point I want to mention is about our strategic hiring process. We heard the provost give a report on that on the faculty side. But just to give governors perspective, this goes back to my work actually with former provost Doug Davenport. I've worked with academic affairs to develop a strategic hiring process for the faculty positions based on, we asked for that after our program eliminations and looking at new programs that we're launching. And like I said, we've had 2 solid cycles of this on the faculty side. We know that when we have requests to hire faculty, whether they're replacement positions or new positions, that is very methodical. Requests are supported by data and a solid rationale, and that those requests have been supported through the departments and the colleges along the deans with a final yay or nay to move forward with the provost. And logical in the sense of meeting the strategic needs related to our master academic plan, which is essentially our academic mission. So I was very happy that this fall, the provost, Ron, interim vice president for finance administration, the HR director, and myself spent several working meetings to both refine that decision-making process and to ensure that, first of all, our new faculty hires were strategic and that we fully understood what the budget impacts of that is, that everybody around the table understood how much of a given position was already budgeted and how much of a given position would require new funding, new money in the budget. And if so, where would that money be coming from? So the strategic hiring process is looking at what are our academic needs and how are we going to make it work in the budget. And we've been doing that on the faculty side. As the provost mentioned, we have 11 open searches. We now understand directly how much is new money, how much is old money, and how much will we have to contribute for that. So now we're ready to start out the second phase of the rollout of this plan, which is basically to look at staffing size. And we're going to begin with the physical plants. This is an area where we have many, many unmet staffing needs that have gone on, particularly in skilled technical positions, HVAC, electrician, as well as a carpenter. And I've been working with the interim vice president, myself, and our AVP director of physical plant, Brian Atkins, and we're moving forward to determine what are those critical positions and the hiring details again. And again, this is essential to build the budget. And it's, when you think about, well, why do you have to hire someone for HVAC? Well, when you have as many buildings as we do and as many units, and you have to call in someone for service, all of a sudden it doesn't make any sense to have to do that. So we're looking to refill those critical positions as well. And again, that will help us as we build the budget for next year. Another update I'd like to give the governors has to do with CTAC and its construction. I don't know if you've been driving by the corner of Woodbine and Mitchell, but there's a building that's being built there and it's coming along very nicely. We do have another initiative meeting that's been set for November 13th. This is another large work group meeting. Some other highlights I can give you. You approved the fiber optics, so we know that that's going forward. We know for equipment request and what we're going to get for CTAC, that is also moving forward. We've got the lists. We've got some key contacts in terms of when we'll be doing that. And I know Dan Bomblauskas, Dean Albrecht are working with faculty from Missouri Western and North Central on this. And here's some other interesting milestones, because when you look at a building that's like a skeleton, it's kind of interesting to know what's happening. So I can tell you about the floors. The floors were poured and completed on October 6th, and this was a major milestone because this enabled our interior cinder block walls to be erected. That's really good. The structural steel, the main canopy and columns have been erected. And that's important to note that steel deliveries in general have been a mess. Bill, you might remember some of that when you were building your expansion. So we have been fortunate with layer strength to procure, and our materials have arrived on time. Our exterior framing is going to begin on November 6th, and we hope that that will be completed by the first part of the new year. That'll help the building take its shape so you can actually see it as a building, but it will also give us the indoor space and help protect us from Mother Nature, so we don't have to worry about that. We know the membrane roofing is targeted to be completed January 19th. This is another millstone as it will close off the elements and let us to move forward. We anticipate a final grade scheduled for early April, and the building to be complete on June 7th with only a punch list of items left. So as had mentioned by Vice President Archambault, we're looking to do a hard hat walkthrough early in the beginning of 2024, and we are excited to have that building ready to show off. And finally, I just want to talk a little bit about our Center for Service, because this is one of our centers that is near and dear, one of our initiatives is near and dear to me. And I just want to share a couple of items that our wonderful Center for Service team, which is Angie Osborne and our director, Kim Seacrest. One of the things they have going on this fall is something they're calling Griffins and Volunteer Engagement, or Give Fridays. And this was launched for this academic year. And what the center is doing is every Friday, they're offering a community service activity. These vary week to week. They're pre-scheduled. One of the things we'll be doing is a food bank Friday that we're working with Second Harvest to help at that. But there's also pop-up activities that will help fill an immediate need for one of our community partners. And we know that the center is having an impact. And let me share just some statistics for last year, the 2022-23 academic year. We know for last year that more than 460 students performed 3,893 hours of service to nonprofit organizations, businesses, and schools in Buchanan County. That's pretty darn outstanding. That's almost 4,000 hours. And we know that the estimated economic impact of that is over $118,000. Our students providing economic impact to Buchanan County as volunteer service. And we know that the work of the center is recognized and valued in the community. Since its inception, the center has received funding support from the city of St. Joseph for over $120,000. It's about $40,000 per year since fiscal year 21. And from Buchanan County, they've received $75,000 for fiscal year 2021 and 23. Those are significant amounts. And that's a recognition of the work that this center is doing for the university. And that's the gratitude that they have. And one final note I'm very proud to tell you about. Missouri Western is participating in the Adopt-A-Block program that is spearheaded by the Community Alliance. If you're not familiar with Adopt-A-Block, it is a volunteer neighborhood beautification program, and it is tied to the Imagine St. Joseph 2040 plan. Kim Seacrest, our director of our Center for Service, is leading the way. And we have adopted the areas between Lafayette Street from 29th Street to Noyes Boulevard. This also includes the YWCA Bliss Apartments and the Pivotal Point Transitional Housing. It's the same area where we had our big event last year. We did a joint cleanup. But our commitment as a university is to help beautify just a small portion of that parkway and the streets around these apartments. Our participation is tied to Gold Friday, but in this case, it is for our faculty and staff to take 2 hours out of a Friday to come and help beautify the neighborhoods. And I think that is just phenomenal. So in conclusion, as you can tell, we are working hard and setting the stage for another successful semester and academic year. And as always, I appreciate the work and support of the board. The roles that you serve as ambassadors of our good work is invaluable to us. And sharing the good news about Missouri Western State University in this community and with your own circles of influence is critically important. As I often say, Missouri Western State University is moving forward with clear direction and sure purpose. And it is incredibly gratifying to know that you are all behind us in our efforts. So thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
I have a question. So you've had a couple of years experience with Gold Friday. Does that continue to be a popular event with students and faculty, or is that something where we would stop doing and go back to the 5-day week?
That's a very good question. So, we have, when we launched Gold Fridays, it was the middle of pandemic. So it took us a year. We analyzed some data. We said, okay, we're now in a position that we're going to take another look at that because we want to make sure that the original that we're doing a Gold Friday, it was classes through Thursday with Fridays off for different activities, is really meeting what our students are interested, but also our faculty and our staff. So through academic affairs, we're going to be doing another survey of students, of staff, and faculty to examine kind of what the perception is, and also what are folks using that time for. I will say before anyone else in the room or the gallery has a heart attack, it would not be we're not doing it next year because we've already moved down that lane and we do some marketing on that and so forth. But I think with any initiative, it's important to take a really good look at it and say, is this really meeting what we need? We know that there are some positive, we've heard about lots of Gold Friday opportunities and things that can go on, but there are some negatives. If you come to campus on a Friday, it's a little deserted.
Nobody works on Friday?
No. It's not that they don't work, but we don't have classes.
Just no class.
Right. But if you come to campus,
Yeah.
it's not like it is during the week, right? And I think that does have an impact on our food service contracts with Aramark. It has an impact on who's around to attend athletic events. And we see that particularly in basketball season when we have, Thursday night games and Saturday games and those kinds of things. So we want to take a really careful look at it. And if it's something that we think we might want to unwind, what would that look like? But it is nothing that will happen within the next year, just because of where we are. So, but that's a very good question. I think we just want to be thoughtful and make sure that it's doing what we want it to do. And if it's not, then what do we want to take? If it is, then how can we amplify it and make it even better?
Do freshmen have to live on campus?
If they, I believe it's, and I'm going to ask for this, if they live farther than 50 miles, is that correct? Yes, I got the nod.
So if most of the people come from Buchanan County, probably not so much, yes or no?
They're not required to,
I know, I mean, it's been a long time since I worked here, but that was always a challenge. Not necessarily because of Gold Fridays, because we didn't have that, but nobody, they all commuted.
Right.
So, you're not going to stay around for this or that when you've got to drive home.
Right. Well, and we did notice too, from the 21 fall survey, there was a clear demarcation between residents and the commuters.
I'm sure,
Right.
absolutely.
So we're
You
just
could
gonna,
tell a difference in the classroom.
absolutely. So that's what we're going to look at.
Okay.
Well, you have appropriately touted the service that our students are doing, and those are some impressive numbers, but I would surmise that that's probably low. That's the official numbers. Just anecdotally, for the St. Joseph Marathon that we had, and we're short on volunteers, and the baseball coach contributed 26 players kind of as a last minute thing. To come out and assist with that. And that's just one of dozens of stories about how involved our students are in the community and around. And I don't think we can self-promote that enough. And I think it's appropriate too. I've seen our students cleaning up downtown, and they don't know who I am, and they're always still friendly, and it's just a great ambassadors for our university, and I'm as I know everybody's proud of them, but it's good to remind ourselves of our product that we have here and what our mission.
Well, I appreciate that very much. We actually have an app that we use, that students use to log in and put in where they're going. And we've actually been able to coordinate more closely with our student athletes. Originally Gold Fridays, student athletes were not permitted to count their required volunteer hours as being an athlete. And we've changed that. And now we have a better relationship with athletics to tie in those volunteers. So I expect the numbers that we have will increase exponentially based on the good work that our student athletes provide, the service that they provide in the community.
Do our volunteer students wear the logo when they're out doing that?
I think sometimes they have safety vests. I think sometimes depending on the event, they have events like we will have a t-shirt that says the big event and it's black and gold, right?
Okay.
Or I don't know if we're doing the Adopt-a-Block t-shirts. I know Community Alliance had given participants Adopt-a-Block t-shirts.
Yeah.
We could, yeah, we typically they wear it anyway, but generally we try to encourage.
I would hate the general public to confuse our students with those from up north.
I don't know that that's
They
possible.
always have on green.
Okay,
I
Thank
have
you.
some,
go ahead.
on
Sorry.
student involvement. I mean, I know we want to get the kids more involved and then feel like they're a part of things. Well, it couldn't be helped, but because of weather, we didn't have a family day. Right?
Well, we did. We just didn't get to do a lot of the events, right? We didn't get to do the walk and we didn't get to do some other tailgating. But I know that the events that were going on were well attended in the student union. It just truncated the day. And then too, we were supposed to have the football game at 6, but we had to move that up. But from what I have heard and pictures and whatnot, there was lots of people that were here. And there were some really cool things that went on with Family Day. We actually expanded things down to include all members of the family. So the little siblings got t-shirts and that was really cool too. So
Because I was afraid there wasn't anything, and here's these freshmen, we don't have a family day to remember, as freshmen.
Yeah.
So for kids, for students, wanting that college life, you know, there was something missed. So I was wondering, could we do it for basketball or to do it another time, have something and call it that to get those families in here?
Yeah, well, we can have some conversations about that. I mean, I think they had events that started at 10 and ended at noon, but it was a sideways rain day, if I recall it. So it was not very conducive to doing things outside.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, President Kennedy. The report of the chair, excuse me. First of all, I'd like to, as chair of the board and on behalf of the board, welcome Mr. Daniel Holt. And I know I speak for everyone when I say that if there's anything we can do to assist you, feel free to contact us. I'd like to thank Blake and Israel for their participation. They generally are here every board meeting. And I think that's very, very important, not only to the student government, but the students and for the board members. And I'd like to thank all the guests. As I look over here, we've got almost every chair filled. Some of you had to be here to give your reports, but it's heartwarming, and I think it's good business that so many of you are here. So thank you for coming. The next board meeting is going to be on Thursday, February 22nd, 2024 at 1:30 in the Blum Student Union, room 220. So that is official. 2024 is almost here.
Do we know when we'll know about the December meeting for the audit? Or are we not knowing that date?
Well, I think the audit is supposed to be done the 15th of November.
Right.
So we'll kind of look at calendars and maybe before you leave today, we can kind of powwow a little bit and see what that would be. Yeah, because it would be easier to get it on the book
Yes, it
sooner
would
rather
be
than later.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any old business? Any new business? Board member comments or questions? There being no further comments or questions, a vote will be held to close the meeting. Missouri Statute 610.021, sections 1, 2, 3, and 13 to consider legal matters, real estate, personnel, and other matters protected by law. Do I have a motion to close this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The motion passed. We're going to take a short break and reconvene in closed session in a few minutes. Thank you. Motion carried.
Well, now we'll just wait till they get back on and then. All good? Okay, then we're good.
The board meeting is back in open session. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel matters and other legal matters as presented in closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Do I have a motion to approve the real estate matters as presented in closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. And thank you all for your time and input.
All right, super duper.